in a Box is a
Yeah.
sketch that like was so viral that everyone was like, most people didn't even know it was from SNL. They just thought it was like a funny thing that JT did. But yeah, he's like, to me, like one of the greatest to ever do it. I think like one of the fun things we did on the Saturday Night Network this summer was we polled the online audience and the listeners to ask them like who they think the greatest SNL hosts are of all time. And that was really fun to get to like, sort of like count up the numbers. And then every week we counted down and looked at like the 3 or 4 that were revealed. And Melissa McCarthy, like I didn't know where she would end up on the list. She ended up being voted in as 8th, and I think that was like the right spot for her. I did my own rankings. Like I think she's a top 10 SNL host of all time. Like super consistent. Worked the Groundlings, so she like grew up the same way that a lot of SNL cast members do. And for me, like, yeah, in the 50-year history of the show, there's a lot more men that have hosted than women. So like it's very important to me to celebrate the women who have hosted and have hosted really well. So she's somebody that I think like definitely deserves recognition.
A big fan of her. And that's a great transition into my next question. And I wanted to ask who your top 5 hosts were. I got my top 5 here. If you want to rotate, or if you want to say your top 5.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let me hear who your top 5 are. I'm curious.
Okay. This is just my personal, like, these are some of my favorite hosts.
Your favorites.
I got Dave Chappelle. I got Shia LaBeouf. Melissa McCarthy. Bill Burr. And then number 1, I got Jim Carrey.
Okay, so those are some really good ones. Jim Carrey's hosted 3 episodes, and every one of them has like been an event. So I think that's a great one. Melissa McCarthy makes sense. Bill Burr, like I said, hosted a pretty good episode. Shia LaBeouf that's an interesting poll. I mean, I haven't thought about him hosting SNL in a while, but he hosted a couple of really fun episodes. I think he was in that. Was he in that Dear Sister sketch back in the day?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
The one that was like making fun of the OC.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good one. So, yeah, that's a pretty good list. I like that. I think for me, I'll say like sort of a mix between who I think are the greatest and my favorite. I would probably like Justin Timberlake's my favorite host of all time.
Oh yeah.
He's just love to get like every episode I watched with him was the best. For me, like it solidified like how much I love this show. So like if you're listening and you've never gone back and like seen a JT episode, like definitely do that. So he's definitely like my favorite host. Buck Henry is somebody who like a name that I don't think is very familiar to like a lot of people nowadays, but he hosted 10 times in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
And he was like the original great SNL host. Like Max, are you a football or a basketball fan?
No, I know Michael Jordan.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay.
Because Space Jam.
So like most people think like Michael Jordan, and rightfully so, is the greatest basketball player of all time. But like Buck Henry isn't the Michael Jordan of hosts, but he's like the Bill Russell. So like the guy who's won, 11 championships, but like won them in the early days of like the league being created. Oh. So he's like in this case, like Steve Martin is probably the Michael Jordan of SNL hosts.
I'd say that's pretty fair to say, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, like JT, Buck Henry, Steve Martin, Tom Hanks is to me like another amazing SNL host, hosted like a bunch of times in the late 80s and early 90s, and like started the SNL 5-Timers Club. So for me, I love getting to see him on the show. There's a lot of other great ones. If I'm going to go more in the favorite category, I think I maybe go John Hamm or something like that.
Okay,
he's really awesome.
Yeah. When we're talking about Justin Timberlake, I think his SNL stuff is so good that even people that don't watch SNL are familiar with like the sketches that he was in, and maybe that's just because of who he is.
I mean, like, that like was so viral that everyone was like, most people didn't even know it was from SNL. They just thought it was like a funny thing that JT did. But yeah, he's like, to me, like one of the greatest to ever do it. I think in my actual rankings of like where I had him, I think I have him at 6. So like, just based on like, factoring in like actual legacy to the show, like analytics, like how they did, I had like Christopher Walken, Buck Henry, Tom Hanks, Alec Baldwin, and Steve Martin ahead of him. But like, he's definitely well deserving of being there.
Transitioning from hosts to cast members, I also have my top 5. If you want me to read those off.
Yeah, go for it.
So I don't know if this is in any specific order. No, you know what? I will say it's in a specific order. I'm gonna go 5-1. So at number 5, I have Eddie Murphy. Then Kristen Wiig, Will Ferrell, Kenan Thompson, and Chris Farley. If you couldn't guess,
Awesome.
Chris Farley
Yeah.
had the T-shirt.
That's so good. I mean, Chris Farley to me is amazing. If you go back and you watch some of those like early 90s episodes and stuff like that, like Chris Farley's highs are like as high as it ever gets. Like he's like, when he's at his best, he is potentially the greatest cast member of all time. But he also has some like really low lows. So that's where I have trouble like putting him in. Like he's in my like top 20, but top 5, I think I probably wouldn't have him there. Eddie's also tough for me because I think Eddie Murphy is like definitely had a huge part in saving the show, had some amazing moments, definitely a top 10 cast member. Him like not coming back to the show after being a cast member for like 35 years, I think is like a little bit of a factor to me, and to like not necessarily like put him as my top, like a greatest of the greatest. But I think he's really close. My top 5 is Dana Carvey would be 5. Currently playing Biden on the show, just like
He's
impressions, characters, like he's a force, like as well-rounded as it gets. Then Bill Hader would be number 4.
Oh yeah,
Bill for me, yeah, like most people I think would know him as like Stefan. But he's just like, it took him a few years to like get where he needed to get to, but like he made every single sketch he was in better. He was absolutely fantastic. Kristen Wiig would be my number 3. Kristen is to me like, you know, again, SNL has a history of like not writing well for women on the show. Previous to Kristen, there were some great women who were on the show, like, you know, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Molly Shannon, Sherry O'Terry. Like, there's a lot of Maya Rudolph. There's like a lot of really good ones. And even going back further, like Jan Hooks, Gilda Radner. But like, it wasn't until Kristen that a woman like took over the show, and really was like the star of Saturday Night Live. So her importance to the show is you know, why I have her at 3. Will Ferrell is my number 2. Probably the biggest star that like SNL's ever had. And just like, you know, just again, like took him a little bit to get going, but like once he did, like he made every episode he was in better. And then when he left the show, like the show has never felt like a bigger loss from losing a cast member.
Right. Yeah.
And then number 1 for me would be Phil Hartman.
Okay.
Phil Hartman is a cast member who a lot of people don't know him because he had a very tragic ending to his life in the late 90s. But he was on the show for, I'm going to say, 8 or 9 years. And he put up numbers like nobody else. Like it was like Babe Ruth stuff. Like he was in like 10 or 11 or like 12 sketches a night, like in a way that like nobody else had ever done it, all over the show. Like he was just like from an analytics perspective, it was unbelievable. He had like amazing characters, amazing impressions. It's like, to me, he's the best to ever do it on that show.
Yeah. And I can't argue that. The glue.
You just listened to a HaveFun.